Good evening, everyone. Good evening. There we go. Welcome to the Oviedo City Council meeting. It is a little bit after 6:30 this evening. We have all of the members present. Colonel Nardo, if you could join us inside for a moment, sir, at the podium. Would you be kind enough to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, sir? Thank you. Everybody please rise. Put your hand over your heart, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Colonel, thank you so much. At this time, Mr. Cobb, would you mind leading us in an invocation? It's Chief White's turn, but he is mysteriously missing this evening, so.
No problem. If you'd like to join us. Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for this community. And thank you for all the blessings that you've bestowed on us. We ask that you be with us tonight, Lord, as we conduct our business. We ask that you be with our council, that you bless them, and that you give them wisdom and guidance. We ask that you be with us as we go home and deliver us safely to our families. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Brian. Well, our first two items of business this evening are what council likes to refer to as the fun stuff that we get to do. And we are recognizing two outstanding organizations this evening. So just a moment, council will come down off of the dais and join everybody on the floor. But I just have to mention that in the last two council meetings, we have had 3 state championship teams come through our chambers. So give these kids a round of applause. Our last meeting was the soccer team from Oviedo High School, the girls soccer team, took the state championship. Tonight we have the ROTC for Marksmanship, and of course we have the Haggerty High School boys basketball. So council, why don't you join me down front? Thank you, Drew. We're going to start this evening by recognizing the ROTC, and I'd like to once again introduce Colonel Nardo. Colonel, come please join us. You must be very proud.
Mr. Mayor, and members of the City Council, I take great pleasure in introducing to you the Navy National Marksmanship Championship, the best shooters in the entire United States Navy NJROTC program, in the entire program. And I'd like to introduce to you their coach, Master Chief Petty Officer Dero Martini, who will introduce the members of the team. And I would alert you, they're all ladies, by the way, when you see them.
Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for allowing us to come here and recognize us. This is an unbelievable team that we have here tonight, and you'll notice when they come in, I don't really want to say anything about who they are when I'll introduce them, and after you see them, you'll realize kind of what I'm talking about. So first up, number 3 shooter in the nation in the Navy, Natalie Hudson.
There is no losing you.
Next up, Shelby Sessions. Danielle Baruti. These 3 are seniors, and now we have 2 that are juniors. Who's that? Oh, Mackenzie Campbell. And last but not least, Haley Malice.
Not only is it difficult to put those on, but it's hard to line them up as well, as you can see. And we never lose the girls in the crowd. It's like having a bell on a cat, so we always know where they are. So I would make one other announcement. On Wednesday, Master Chief and the team is leaving to go to Anniston, Alabama to compete against the all-service. So they'll be going against the Army, the Air Force, and the Marine Corps as the best shooters in the United States Navy. And we fully expect that they'll bring the all-service title back to Seminole County.
Now, don't go anywhere, ladies. We're not done with you yet. You know, we always like to mark these occasions, but I will tell you that we are running out of room on our signs throughout the city of Oviedo. So, Councilman, if you would please unveil what we have for them. Oviedo High School NJROTC Marksmanship A-Team State Champions 2013. There's a second. And then we have for Marksmanship A-Team National Champs 2013. That looks the same, Drew. Tell me what the difference is.
National State National.
Okay, I'm sorry. Nationals. Congratulations, ladies. The ones that we have here are for you to take home with you tonight. You can put them up in the classroom, wherever you'd like on campus. Drew will have more made, and they will be put out on the street signs around the city. As I said, they're getting all filled up right now, so Drew's doing the best he can with juggling them all around. But why don't you join us up front, grab your signs, let's get a picture. That is a, Councilwoman just pointed out, that is an excellent problem to have, to run out of room on the street signs. And even though they're ladies, I am still the shortest one here, so.
We're bringing another one back.
I'm kind of in the middle here. 6 months. The light's not picking up the signs. Has to tilt it a little. Now the parents, if you want to get up and take pictures, that's fine. You don't have to take them from the seats. Congratulations, everyone. Hope to see you back here at the next council meeting. We'll make room for another sign. Councilwoman, why don't you and I just bring those chairs up? We can stand on those for this next one. There They were. That was awesome. Councilman Schenck just pointed out that the basketball team was cheering the girls on their way out. I mean, that is sportsmanship 101. But isn't it a great day to be a Haggerty Husky? I've said this more often than I can remember, but I was very fortunate that I had a daughter who went to both high schools. So I got to experience Oviedo High and Haggerty. My youngest went to Haggerty, graduated a couple of years ago, and it has been an awesome experience. But it's also with great pleasure and also sadness that I get to introduce the principal, Sam Momry. Sam, come on up, man. I know this is your last year. You are going to be missed. Folks, I'm going to turn it over to Principal Momry, and I'm going to give him the pleasure of introducing the coaches and the team.
First of all, council members and mayor, thank you so much for inviting our team. We're very, very proud of our outstanding young men and our coaches, and most importantly, our parents who have supported them, traveled millions of miles to go and take them everywhere. And I would be remiss also if I did not thank our student body and the entire Oviedo community for the outstanding support that we have received. I'd like to bring up our leader of our basketball team, our head coach from inception, Coach Josh Cohen.
All right. So again, council members, thank you for this opportunity. It's still surreal for us and special, and I appreciate Mr. Momry, Coach Getty, our athletic director, moms and dads. I know it's still special for us, but the real stars of the show, one of our assistant coaches, Brett Hamilton. Next is one of our coaches, Roy DaCosta. And our last coach, Wes Below. And so one by one, I'll bring in the 11 team members that made this possible, starting in November, and it was a total team effort, not to sound cliche, but 11 wonderful guys. And I'll bring them up. First, Trayvon, and that's Haiti. Next is Henry Torres. And next, Nick Nunkovich. All right, next is Adam Bodiger. And one of our shortest guys, Daniel Lowe. All right, next, Walter Jimenez. Next, Nick Brizendine. Eric Castaneda. And Dylan Nagel. Next is Luke Doyle. last is Logan Hovey.
Trophies back on the desk.
You know, Coach, I got to tell you, I'm a huge basketball fan, and I can tell you this group could beat the current Magic.
And lastly, the
Tuesday after the game, I was at LA Fitness working out, and I think I saw half the team and they're working out.
Yes.
That's a pretty good workout.
That wouldn't surprise me. That's them. That's part of the reason they're here. So I appreciate you guys very much.
All righty, now we would be remiss. There it is, guys. Haggerty High School Class A game. North State basketball champions. Now, I would be remiss if I did not mention that Councilman Britton's daughter is one of the cheerleaders who is out there cheering you guys on. So, and each member of council, we are all Haggerty Huskies. So it is quite an honor for us to have you all here this evening. Guys, why don't you grab your sign? No, I'll tell you what, Councilwoman and I are going to hold your sign. We'll get in front of everybody and we'll take some pictures. That works, right? Thank you, give it back here, Paul. There you go. Okay. They're short. Get one here. There you go. Somebody out here with that. There you go. Like I said, parents, please wander around with your best shots. Tag me on Facebook.
Looks good.
Coach, get up here, Coach. Come on. Coach, get to work. There you go. This up. Balance it out. Councilwoman, I like this. We're going to do this from now on. It actually gave a picture. Can you see him? Look, someone back there. Oh, we can't see it. How can that possibly be? Now, as children, I'm going to guarantee that none of you ever lost any of these guys, right?
We're going to have one of these on the website. Everybody look up.
Everybody look up, all the guys.
These will all be on the city website. You guys.
Got it, Drew? Got it. All right.
You guys did everybody do in like 2 seconds.
All right, guys.
Congratulations again, guys. You get the NBA soon. Magic will be good. All right, we'll see you next Coach.
All right. Principal stays here. Now they have the LED signs all lit up too, I think, right? Now, Sam, how do we get you to stand over here too? No.
They're talking about.
Where do you go out? Parents, now you're not going to stay. We're going to take a couple-minute recess. We'll let everybody kind of get up and leave. We'd like to go. We want to thank you all for coming down here. Congratulations to your children. We cannot be more proud of them, but I'm sure you are as well. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you. Hey, sure you don't want to stay. We have fun stuff on the agenda.
all good-looking boys, young men. He was the one. Like he said, he was. Steve says, "How tall are you? About 6'5". He goes, "No, 5'19". So that's 6'7". Yeah.
6'1" would be the shortest one.
They need to change that from boys championship to young men's championship.
Oh, big.
Everybody loves guys. Those guys would keep. They would stay in the game at the moment.
Usually get a couple of short, not a one, like 6'1".
Well, the kid behind me, he's the tallest. If you think about it, the kid behind me, he's 6'5". If you think about it, Julian Nelson is 6'2". 6'5". I mean, that's a guard. That's a guard.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure they'd hang in there with him. What's the story, brother?
Moving on, we're up to consent agenda, items 4, 5, and 6. These are items that usually appear on the agenda that are just... Pardon me, I skipped over an item. I will open it up for public comment. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to address council on an item that is not on the agenda? Please do so at this time. Seeing none, we will close public comments. Now we will move on to the consent agenda. What is the pleasure of council?
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, call the vote. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to public hearings, we're on to item number 7, ordinance number 1562, which is known as the Forster Grove annexation. Ms. Brazil, can you give us a brief introduction, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and members of council. This is a request to adopt ordinance 1562 to approve an annexation petition for approximately 7.21 acres located on the west and east side of Lee Road. The applicant is Dave Schmidt, and the property owners are Pamela Martin, E.P. Bruce, and Miriam Bruce, and Evans Groove, Inc. It's recommended that council read ordinance number 1562 by title only, conduct a public hearing, and adopt the ordinance.
Thank you, Ms. Brazil. Mr. Groot, can you please read ordinance number 1562 by title only?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. An ordinance of the City of Oviedo, Florida, annexing by voluntary petition certain real property approximately 7.21 acres in size and generally located on the east and west side of Lee Avenue, approximately 560 feet north of the intersection of Lee Avenue and Allendale Drive, and located contiguous to the City of Oviedo in accordance with the voluntary annexation provisions of Section 171.044 Florida statutes, redefining the boundaries of the City of Oviedo to include said property, providing for findings, providing for conditions, directing the city clerk to record the ordinance with the clerk of the circuit court, with the chief administrative office of Seminole County, and with the Department of State, providing for legal description and a map, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for severability, providing for non-codification and the taking of administrative actions, and providing for an effective date. That's the ordinance by title, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Groot. At this time, is the applicant here? Do you have any comments for us? All right. Thank you. Also at this time, this is a public hearing. I will open this up for public comments. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to address council on the annexation ordinance number 1562? Seeing none, we will close public comments and move on to the pleasure of council.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilwoman?
I'd like to make a motion we adopt ordinance 1562.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Councilwoman, you have the floor. Do you have anything?
Nothing.
Councilman Schenk?
Yes, sir.
Councilman Britton?
Yes, sir.
Deputy Mayor? All righty, we are good. I think we kind of vetted this all out over at the last meeting and a meeting before. So with that all being said, I will call the question. All in favor of the motion to adopt ordinance number 1562, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to public hearings, item number 8, resolution number 2617-13, the Oviedo Forest Special Exception Use Order. Ms. Brazil, turn it over to you for a brief introduction, please.
Thank you. This is a request to adopt Resolution 2617-13, approving a special exception use order number 197-12 to allow a model home as a temporary sales office on lots 73, 74, 75, and 87, and associated parking on lot 92 of the Oviedo Forest Development per Section 5.3B4 of the Oviedo Land Development Code. The applicant is Cammie Corbett of Foley and Lardner, LLP. It is recommended that council conduct a public hearing and adopt Resolution 2617-13.
Thank you, Ms. Brazil. Is the applicant here? Would you like to address City Council? Floor is yours.
Cammie Corbett.
Cammie
Corbett, for the record, 100 North Tampa Street, Suite 2700, Tampa, Florida. In your backup, you should have received a PowerPoint presentation that looks like this. I have hard copies. If you wouldn't mind an approach, I'd like to just give you a brief presentation.
Thank you. Linda, do you have that loaded up in the... Okay. Thank you.
Good evening. I just wanted to reiterate what Ms. Brazil stated. This is a request to approve the use of lots 73, 74, 75, and 87 for model homes, approve the use of lot 75 as a sales center, and approve the use of lot 92 for associated parking. There are some proposed conditions that are in the special use exception order, and that they are, generally speaking, the summary is, and you have the text in the resolution itself, but the property owner shall ensure compliance with accessibility standards. The model homes of the same model and elevation must be different colors and must remain so pursuant to land use restrictions in the HOA documents, and those have been recorded. Also, there was an additional condition for mitigation for the renewal of the special use permit, and that was to install 3 small trees along the west property line of lot 92 and improve the hedge facing Bighorn Street. All prior conditions were satisfied of the prior special use exception order, with the exception of one, and that was the installation of crosswalks, a temporary crosswalk between lot 75 and lot 87. It was determined that compliance with this condition by staff, that it was not practical due to operational and safety concerns with the previously approved infrastructure improvements. And the next slide shows the crosswalks, the permanent crosswalks that are in place that show crossing of Holly Springs and over to the Model Home Center. That's the functional equivalent of the crosswalk that would have been approved. The next slide is an illustration of a curb cut that would be required to construct an accessible crosswalk. You can see for the ADA compliance, you have to cut a significant cut into the pavement, and that would have interfered with the infrastructure and the curbing on the other side. It had been installed where the special condition was approved. Staff determined that it was the functional equivalent accessibility, and therefore allowed us to continue. Also would like to show you that the mitigation for the new mitigation condition has already been complied with by the applicant. We've already installed the 3 new trees and improved the hedgerow. And the staff report concludes that all 7 criteria of the LDC have been satisfied, and the owner respectfully requests approval of the special use exception order. I'm in receipt just this evening as I walk through the door that there are some members of the community here, residents of the community that are here in opposition. It's not clear. That it seems that they want the HOA to take some actions unrelated to the special use exception order or impose conditions relating to the HOA. This is the first that I've heard from them, so I haven't had the opportunity to speak with them and discuss whether we would even be open to those conditions, but I can say that I can't make a decision on behalf of the Homeowners Association. I represent the owner of the property, not the Homeowners Association.
Well, I will allow you time to respond.
Okay.
I will, just as a heads up, let you know that we've had these ongoing issues, and speaking for myself, I'll be looking for resolution this evening on them. I do have one other question.
Yes.
Model homes of the same model and elevation must be different colors and must remain different colors. That's if you want to put 2 next to each other, correct? that condition has not changed from what we did 3 or 4 years ago?
No, it is the identical condition. There was a recommendation at one point that Planning and Zoning staff thought maybe since that condition had been satisfied that maybe it would come out of the special use exception order, but we have no objection to it remaining. We've complied with it, and we have no problem with it carrying forward as part of the approval.
Well, terrific. Thank you so much. This is a public hearing, and as I said, we'll move on to opening it up to the public to speak. I do have some written requests. I will take them in the order in which I have them, and the first I have is from Clifford Ball. Mr. Ball, we'll just need your name and address for the record first.
It's Clifford Ball. I'm at 620 Holly Springs Terrace, Oviedo Forest Development. And I would like to give my minutes to Carol Ball, my wife. Just as a brief introduction, there are a couple of issues. I think generally that there were some representations that were made, I would say implicitly when we purchased our home, specifically that there were signs indicating that there was no fishing around the lake that is behind our house, and that has caused some problems with people coming onto into the private gated area from outside the Oviedo Forest subdivision and using it basically as a public park to fish, and also that the gate has been left open, and that's caused some problems as well. I would like to give the rest of my time to my wife, who has a statement that she would like to present.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ball. Mrs. Ball, good evening. Just your name and address for the record, and we'd like to keep it to 5 minutes or less if possible.
Okay.
Thank you. That's okay.
My name is Carol Ball. I live at 620 Holly Springs Terrace, Oviedo Forest. We live inside the gated community. And good evening, commissioners and council. I would like to address an issue that exists within the Oviedo Forest gated community, and I would like to read the following statement. Over the last 4 years, since the beginning of 2009, the various entities involved in the development of the Oviedo Forest community have neglected to provide certain security features and land use restrictions that would have reasonably been expected to exist by homeowners who purchased the property before this time. We believe that such actions or inactions may have contributed to such negative impacts as construction and personal property thefts, break-ins, trespassing, and environmental degradation. In particular, the gates to the gated portion of Oviedo Forest have been allowed to remain open during the day, and fishing in the lake behind the gate that was prohibited has in recent years been allowed and possibly encouraged by the developer and HOA management, thereby interrupting the wildlife habitat and providing an incentive for people throughout the city of Oviedo and nearby towns to breach any security measures that might be in place and to use the lake as a public park. The city, through the SEUO, has the ability to limit these impacts through the Land Development Code requirements of the SEUO. In particular, we believe that the developer and HOA management, which happen to be closely related, should reestablish the following items that exist prior to 2009. And there are 2 items. The first item, keep the gates closed and allow entrance only to those with passcodes, remote controls, and those who are specifically allowed to enter for construction purposes. And number 2, repost the no fishing or boating sign that existed near the large lake in the gated portion of Oviedo Forest. Our community and our environment would be much better served by maintaining this particular area inside the gated subdivision as the wildlife refuge that it was when we moved in, and not the highly trafficked sportsman hangout that it is becoming. Plat Book 72, page 28, indicates that the only recreation areas are tracts R1 and R2. By this and the no fishing sign, the developer represented that there would be no fishing on or around the lake. We purchased the property based on that representation. The developer and HOA management should comply with Plat Book 72, page 28. Since the Special Exceptions Use Order number 19010 has been expired since March 2011, the developer HOA management removed the no fishing signs and, according to some homeowners outside of the gate, began providing gate codes and pedestrian keys to homeowners outside of the gate, telling them that they could fish from the lake within the gated community. The city should require, through the new SEUO, that the developer repost the signs at the at the lake front and at the front gate to remain consistent in the selling of the homes. Basically, they should not be able to represent to some homeowners that there is no fishing and then promote fishing to other homeowners. Therefore, we request that the no fishing sign be reposted at the lake, as well as the gate be kept closed. We appreciate the HOA management has been responsive recently, posting a no trespassing sign, but the sign also recently has been removed. We request that the sign be reposted with all required permissions to be given to the Oviedo Police Department to allow the enforcement of the signs. We find this necessarily belongs in the SEUO and should remain permanently in order to establish the land use requirement as it was identified initially and is recorded legally in Plat Book 72. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next written request I have is from Mr. Corey Hibbs. Mr. Hibbs, just name and address for the record, and then off you go.
Corey Hibbs, 901 Bighorn Street, Oviedo Forest. Mr. Mayor and Council, I appreciate your time. May I approach? I have some emails I just want to share with you.
Sure, of course. Barbara, have you been getting copies of everything? Okay. We just have to make sure that the clerk gets a copy as well. Thank you. If not, Councilman Britton will share his. Thank you.
These are different from these.
I regret even having to come here to address this. I've been trying to work with our HOA, which, as Paul just briefly stated, is very in a deep relationship with the builder and landowner currently. I live behind Lot 104. This was a pretty big lot that we had to pay money to acquire before building our home. The hedge along the back road, 426, behind my property.
Corey, I'm sorry. You said lot 104?
104 and 105.
So you're on Bighorn.
On Bighorn. There's a little retention pond behind those lots.
Got it. Thank you.
Behind those lots, there is a hedge. The hedge has actually been either cleared or killed. We've been asking with the HOA to work with the home builder or the landowner to actually replace that hedge. They've actually put a white privacy fence down 80% of 426 and stopped behind lot 103. I've actually contacted all my adjacent neighbors, two which are with me this evening, which are on 103 and 105. We would actually like the HOA and the home builder to actually put a hedge that does not require irrigation, because that was the answer we got, that they cannot put anything there because it requires irrigation, and they were not going to put that out there. As you see the correspondence with the home with the HOA, it was appointed by the landowner. Without even me corresponding in those emails, his first comment was to get off. This is the constant dialogue we have with our HOA. The two people that are sitting on that board do not live in our community. They've been appointed by the landowner, who's been in relationship with this company for a long time. And all we ask is to actually extend that hedge. We're not asking them to extend the white fence, but extend the hedge to the remainder of the property. We do live inside a gated community. There's very easy access to the community from that behind that property. We do have pictures if you want to see some of the hedge where it's been killed or died off.
You can start on the end with the, oh, you've got them on a, can you put them up there, Linda, for us?
There's some pictures before. See the green area? That's the road. Maybe you can see just the road.
It's not the council. If you give your thumb drive to Linda, she'll be able to put them up there. Did you see that? Thank you, Linda.
Can I ask you a quick question for it? You had said, I'm sorry, a white fence was put on 426, did you say?
Correct.
From, I'm going to say from the 170 down towards, all the way down towards,
Well, it stops at 103.
103 is around the corner.
103 is around the corner from you, that's what I was trying to look at.
I think the fence,
From all the way to here, it stops at 188.
Okay, that's all, yeah, that's, when you said that, it just threw me off from that.
well, while they're getting the pictures up, if I can share with the fellow members.
Like I say,
This is just pictures from the other day as I walked with there behind my daughter. You can see most of the areas either killed, dead, or just cleared out.
Corey, I'm just going to hold on just 1 second. If all the members would get out the site plan that was given to us on the PowerPoint, just for your reference, Mr. Cobb and I took a ride up here last week. There is a white vinyl fence that basically goes lot 188 and 187 along 426. Then the fence doesn't exist, and it doesn't exist. It exists back into the corner of 105, but does not go around the pond. It picks up again at lot 180 and kind of went all the way down to about lot 172, I would say, 171, somewhere in the corner there. It just terminated. So those were our observations of Mr. Cobb and I when we went out and took a field trip, let's call it, last week at the request of one of the residents.
Is that a fairly new fence?
It's a brand new white vinyl fence.
Okay.
They've-
Not a Google Earth.
Oh, can you see it there?
No, it's not on there.
Corey, I'm sorry, the floor is back.
No, they actually stopped because there was a wetland, so they actually put up I believe a black chain fence through the wetland. They did not put the white vinyl fence through the wetland. But it does stop behind one property in Paris at 180.
Right, because around that pond behind your home was chain link. That's what I
There's
remember
a
seeing.
chain link in front of or on the wall,
Right.
where the actual retention pond is.
Right, nothing vinyl, nothing that's blocking the road.
And we're not asking them to put the white expensive vinyl fence. We're just asking them to put some sort of hedge that does not require constant irrigation in the areas where it's been cleared or it's been or killed off. I try to do it the right way through the builder and through the HOA. When you see the correspondence we get from the self-appointed president of the party.
Corey, where is he at, President? Is he in your community?
He's not. He lives in Baker.
Sorry?
He lives in Baker.
Oh, okay.
That was the gentleman who was here the last time we went through this. And Scandia, whatever their name was, they were in here, so let me understand this, based on what I'm reading here, based on what I heard represented earlier. These may or may not be HOA issues, but the developer still controls the HOA.
Correct.
Okay, that's all we need to hear. Sorry, Corey, go ahead.
No problem. And that's pretty much all we have. I mean, we just ask your consideration for your support, because obviously we cannot get anywhere with the HOA or the landowner.
While we're addressing things, how's the health of the financials of the HOA? Because you're getting close to turnover.
That's another thing we ask for your help with. We actually have asked for an assessment of the roads, because of all the construction that are coming through. They've damaged some of the curbs, some of the sewers. Obviously, the wear and tear on the roads, we wanted something put into the reserve. They did have an independent engineer come out and do an assessment. We asked for that assessment in November at our last board meeting. We still have not received that, and we were told that they're actually having a second assessment done. So, again, we would like access to that assessment so that we can actually get something in our reserve for the roads. Since we live behind the gate, we're required to do our own repaving of the roads and the sidewalks. And we feel that with the damage that they're doing, with the high usage trucks and all the own vehicles that are coming through because of their construction, we believe they should put something in that reserve.
Anything else, Corey?
So that's it.
All right. I may call you back up.
Appreciate your time.
Our pleasure. This is a public hearing. Those are the only written requests that I had. Is there anybody else in the audience who would like to address council at this time? Certainly, sir. Just name and address for the record.
My name is Steve Jones. I live in Oviedo Forest at lot 105.
I'm sorry, sir, 105?
105.
So you are...
I'm at the edge of the white fence.
So you're the lot that doesn't look like it has anything...
No, that's
Can you just show me which lot you are? Are you that green lot?
That green lot is the home that was there before we built. I'm right there, 105.
Okay.
The fence stopped right there at that corner.
At that corner, okay.
Halfway to mine behind the house, right?
It is.
Okay.
The majority of it, actually.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Also, the picture of the sold sign, that's my beautiful bride of 35 years. That's what our lot looked like the day we handed over our check to Estancia. My problem's not with the HOA. The HOA is barely in existence in my mind because their name is doing business as the old HOA, who happens to do the warranty work on my house now when something fails, who also does the landscaping, who also puts the fences up for Estancia, the builder. So, it's kind of confusing. And then the replies are so derogatory I didn't bring them with me.
Oh, I see one here.
No, that's to Corey, and it addresses me as well. My reply back, this is not a homeowners association, it's more with the builder and the developer. But my reply to the homeowners association was I would continue to send them emails as a reference and a paper trail, but there was no need for them to respond back to me until we take this over. Mr. Hibbs covered probably 85-90% of what I had to talk about as well, other than the concern that when we bought the property, the noise level was nowhere near what it is now. And then people have been buzzing about the noise. There was never a problem. It seems like someone's gone in there and killed that vegetation off just to bring more noise in, to bring more of this to the council meetings or whatever's going on. It's just aggravating as a homeowner and a taxpayer in the city to have to deal with someone that won't deal with us back in a fair way.
Well, as I did state earlier, myself and our assistant city manager, Mr. Cobb, we did go out and observe it firsthand, so we'll have a discussion in a moment.
Thank you very much for your time.
Is there anybody else? Ms. Paul, you already had your bite at the apple. I'm sorry. We'll bring that. Is there anybody else? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing. And if you'd like to readdress before we move forward.
Good evening. Again, this is the first that I'm hearing of these issues, and had I been aware of them, certainly before we were coming here this evening, I would have recommended to my client that we sit down with these individuals and talk to them about what their concerns are and see if there's something that we can some kind of resolution we can come up with that's mutually agreeable. We're not here to try to shove anything through. We're just trying to keep the model center open to...
Is the model center open currently?
Yes.
So it's operating without an extended use permit?
It's in abeyance while we're seeking compliance, and certainly we're in the application process. We're willing to do that. We're willing to continue this evening to have and schedule a time certain meeting with the homeowners association or with the homeowners that have expressed concerns that are here or those who are not here this evening in order to be able to address their concerns and see if we can't add some conditions that they're seeking. And also, I think closing the model center and shutting them down is only going to exacerbate the problem between the HOA and the residents, and I don't think that that's good for the overall community of all of the residents. And so I would ask for the opportunity to continue this, to have the opportunity to talk with the residents.
Can I ask a question? Why shouldn't we shut down your model center? These folks have been trying to deal in good faith for months with you. Months. I have an email right here that says, you and Corey need to find another hobby.
Could you, and then who is that from?
Mr. Dan Roberts. Alrighty, so, we'll have a discussion amongst the members. I have no interest in letting you keep your model center open right now. We can close it down for 2 weeks. You can go work out every issue that they have. You can come back to us on April 1st, I believe it is. If every issue is worked out to their satisfaction and they get up here and they're singing your praises, then we'll have a discussion on this. That's my position. It may not be the rest of the members.
My preference would that you allow us to continue operation with a firm commitment from Mr. Paul Manning, who is the representative of Stancy.
Is he here?
He is not here.
He's
in California. He's asked me to come on his behalf, not Home Dynamics, not... He's having me come from Tampa to be his lawyer to help him sort through these issues. Not Mr. Roberts, not Home Dynamics, not any of the other issues. That's why you see compliance, pre-compliance with the new condition that was imposed, because we want to demonstrate to you that we're coming to you with a different pace. And we respectfully request time to allow us to do that. And we can schedule a time certain to come back here, April 1st. And if we haven't worked it out by April 1st, then you can say, I don't see any effort on your part. If I'm not able to come to you in a couple of weeks and tell you my client has worked things out with the HOA, then I understand your position, but I would ask for that additional time.
Well, we'll see what the rest of the council would like to do. But I mean, I see a trail of emails here dating back to before Christmas with, the way I'm reading them, snide remarks, and you're basically
Can we have a
telling
discussion,
us...
Mr. Mayor? Can we have a discussion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Need a motion first?
No, we'll have discussion first. Councilman Schenk?
Ryan, the fence. Is that fence mandatory, or did they put that fence up, or when did they put that fence up? I'm just trying to figure out timelines, what's going on. I understand your pain. My homeowners went bankrupt. I left with garbage. So I understand your pain. But, I want to have them do what they are supposed to and have to do. I don't want to just sit here and smack them by threatening them to close them down simply because you feel that's the thing we should do. I want to be fair and not get involved in their contract dispute, because this is a contract dispute between an HOA. It seems a lot of this, it's a contract dispute between an HOA and its members. So I don't want to cross over. So talking to you and Lonnie, I'm going to probably talk to him a little bit and see where we're at in this as it goes through. This fence, it wasn't required, is it?
No, sir.
Okay. Because that's what I said. I'm trying to look at the Order 10 also from 19010. The fishing stuff, there's nothing in there that says they have to. Is there? I'm trying to look in 19010 to see, is there something that says that they have to restrict them, that they can fish? I'm not saying it's a good thing or not. I'm just trying to see where we're at and what the suppositions are that we've restricted them previously and they're, that kind of things. Just try and get timelines of it.
Normally, you would find something regarding a no fishing or something like that.
Again, that's an easy one to me. They should be doing it. I don't see any reason why they're not. I'm just trying to get, we haven't dictated. I thought somewhere it was saying in one of the letters that previously we had put in 19010, and I'm trying to figure out if we did.
No, sir.
That said that there can be no fishing.
No, sir.
In the 19010, it looked like we struck pretty much close to the special exception use. The colors, we went, how they could utilize the space, the sales office, and as a trailer, that we said that they can't construct two model homes, different colors, different that kind of thing, which they're going to continue on. And really taking care of the swale was a lot of the big, I'll say, stuff that didn't relate directly to the sales office itself. We controlled the sales office and its use, and now we've changed that to make it so that was under an old PUD. Now we have one that just continues on and allows them to have a sales office.
No, sir. The sales office is temporary.
Theirs. But do we, like in new developments,
in new developments,
that's what I'm saying.
It's different now, yes.
We changed the code to allow it. They've just been before that code, but we've changed the code to allow so that this process doesn't have to continuously be coming in every year. 6 months,
Yes.
things like that.
Our current practice now is to handle it with the preliminary subdivision plan.
Right, and it gets taken care of. And again, I'm not putting down that these guys are acting like dirt, because they are. I have that they're acting like dirt, and it's a lot of other issues. And the financials and stuff, again, I don't want us to cross into areas that, and then get caught up later on in legal proceedings between contract law that we have no business being part of. So I'd like to try and keep us, as much as we can, in line. And I would like to give them the opportunity, their representative here that says that they would like to work on it, I'd like to give them the opportunity to work on it, and if not, then we have the opportunity to shut them down. I mean, I have no problem doing that, too, at the time, but I also like to give them the opportunity to fix it. Again, I don't see, if they've built a fence already, doing a little more doesn't seem out of line that they're not willing to. If they've built that entire fence, then doing some more doesn't seem out of line that they're not suddenly going to just stop and not do any more. We're talking that, some fence hedging. I think that'll help with the 105 noise levels, whether it's some fencing and some shrubbery possibly, or trees that go a little bit higher, but those type of requirements. And then, again, the roads, I don't know what's being asked in reality. They're private roads. Keeping the gate open, I don't, I'll have to say, what are our legal rights to tell them, keep it open or shut it? I don't know that that's within our boundaries, or should be, to tell an HOA, keep your gates open or closed, and you have to. So those ones I'm a little, the road, whether we can help in some way to, if we've run through them before, to survey them, or we're going to anyway at some point, to say, I don't know if we're going to, because they're private. Do we go in and,
We would not be doing
we're not,
Yes, sir.
we've seen the construction of them,
Yes, sir.
and the requirements of the construction, but there's no bonding from us at that point. There's no requirements that would usually be there for public roads that are turned over to us.
Normally what we do require them to be built to city standard.
Right.
We also ask that language be put into the covenants that place a maintenance schedule that is, I don't want to say the same, but equivalent to what the city does. And
Some reasonableness that they should have, that they have to maintain it,
Yes.
because it is costly. And you don't plan for that one, that's a killer. Again, but that's contractual law that I don't know we get involved in. Thanks, that's all in there for you. Mr. Alani, again, my concerns are contractual law in this. There's been some financial stuff that's been brought up, and about private roads. I don't know what was really being asked of us about the private roads, but us doing more than assuring that the roads were built to spec, and again, assuring that the wording was in, it's not for us to then assure that they comply with that in terms of that they have to have, at this point, $32,000, whatever the number is, $32,000 sitting in that bank account. Is it, or can we, or?
You have an application for a development. You have a staff recommendation to approve it. To not deny it, you have to cite precise provisions of code to support the basis for the denial. That's
The special exception order, correct? That's what I thought. It's a special exception order. So we have to have precise areas of the code that say, this does not comply, thus we are refusing it. Again, I would give them 2 weeks. Would be my, and that would be no more. I would give them 2 weeks to work out a lot of the issues and come back with a lot happier people.
Let's see. Councilwoman, do you have anything?
Just a little bit. There was a lot given to us today, so I didn't get a chance to read all the emails. But I was very offended by some of the comments from this Dan Roberts. I didn't think it was very nice. But when a developer comes in, they put up a big poster and like a banner and show everybody, this is what your development's going to look like. And lots of times they deviate from that. So what's very important to homeowners may not be so important to the developer, but it is important to the homeowners. So I was sad to hear you say you never even heard of any of these things. So obviously, there's a lack of communication. And I think that it's very important for your company and whoever you're representing comes here, sits down with the homeowners and get these things ironed out. I don't think what they're asking is outrageous or out of line at all. It's a quality of life issue for many. And however, saying that, I do believe that you're building a beautiful neighborhood. I think that you want what's best, and I think you will work with them. So I would go along with the giving you the 2 weeks, get somebody here, sit with the homeowners, and start working these things out. And then you end up with win-win on both sides.
Thank you. Councilman Britton?
Well, I think what we're talking about is a continuance here, and I'd be in favor of a continuance. I think Councilman Schenck and Councilman Drago outlined some things. Mayor Persampier stated fairly well what the conduct of the developer is, and frankly, he's fairly justified. But you know, I have to thank Ms. Corbett for your client not being on time with this, because if he had applied on time, we wouldn't even be here. So I'm tending to say, you know, get with the leadership of the community, get the list of things that need to be done, come back with us 2 weeks with a schedule or a progress on those things being done. And then, you know, I move to continue this for 2 weeks till April 1st.
Okay. Let me just give Councilman Henkin, Deputy Mayor Henkin, his shot, and then I'll come back to you, okay?
Well, I think I take a little bit different approach. I mean, when I see an email from the person running this HOA that says you and Corey need to find another hobby, and then it ends with let's try to be a little bit more considerate of a job we're trying to do. Frankly, you know, I've actually looked in Oviedo Forest. I think it's a beautiful neighborhood. I was just actually in there not too long ago, and I know exactly what you're talking about. And you know, to have somebody representing the HOA speak to a resident that just paid top dollar for a house, who is not asking for major stuff, the no fishing signs, I mean, the gate, that struck me, the gate being, you know, open during the day. You buy a gated community, those are your roads. If something goes wrong with those roads, the residents have to get together and take care of you. You want them closed, you want the security. But to see Mr. Roberts, and if we do continue this for 2 weeks, I want him here on April 1st to respond to this, because I want to ask him point blank why he's responding to people that have paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for houses. This tells me he doesn't care. And frankly, my motion is to continue this, but to close the model center tomorrow until April 1st, until he's here and he addresses this. Because right now, I see residents reaching out. I've got many emails from different residents other than you folks asking me similar things, and it's not being taken serious. So the only thing that would be taken serious, and I don't know how we go about that, but, you know, Councilman Britton has made somewhat of a motion, but if I can, you know, amend it to continue this resolution, 2617-13, until our next meeting in April, but that the model center is closed for those 2-week period. So this developer will act and treat these people with respect. These people taking out big mortgages, have big loans, trying to get stuff done, and to see a response like this would infuriate me, and it has. So the 2 weeks is fine, but I don't know that how we go about, but the model center should not remain open, and frankly, that gate needs to be closed during the day. That's what you paid for, you know, to keep that gate closed. The other things, I think the no fishing sign, you know, that could be put back up. Certainly, I wouldn't have bought a lot that would have had public fishing behind it. I don't think you folks would have bought it either, knowing that was the case. So, you know, I hear you loud and clear. So, Mayor, if you're ready for a motion, that's the motion. The motion would be to continue 2617-13 to the April, I guess, is it April 1st, Ms. Brazil? April 1 meeting, but that tomorrow somebody from code enforcement goes there and tells them to close that model center until this is addressed. Because had I not seen this email, I could have agreed with Councilman Schenck. But seeing this type of response, they don't care, and maybe that will make them care. So that's my motion.
Well, Mr. Mayor, before you, just to be clear, what code enforcement would do is cite a code violation, not order a closure. So I wouldn't want to put staff in the position that you think that they would just close it down. That would be a citation, and go to the special magistrate and all that. That would be the process.
That's fine. Catherine, what is the timeline for such a citation? Do they have a 30-day notice, or do they have, is it effective immediately with penalties to follow?
How this written, the way the process would work would be code enforcement would issue a notice of violation. Actually, we're under a notice of violation right now. Okay. We found them in violation. We issued the notice of violation. The notice of violation basically says, obtain a special exception use order or cease operations. And so they're going through the special exception use order process as directed by the code enforcement staff. And so just to give you an idea, if City Council were to deny the special exception use order, they would have to close immediately because they're already under a code enforcement action currently. Basically, because we're under a notice of violation, what would happen is, and I'm not sure what the exact date was, obtain a special exception use order by, if there was a date, but what would happen is that the public hearing for the special magistrate would be scheduled. And that would be the next available public hearing. We would have to send a notice. Obviously, the state requires us to have certain notice requirements. And we would send a notice stating, you've been placed on this agenda. And then they would have their hearing. The magistrate meets on the fourth Thursday of every month. Now, whether or not we can make it to this one, I'm not sure.
Mr. Cobb, Councilman, can I just touch on that point, Brian? So you're saying if we denied this, they'd have to close immediately, but still would have to follow the process?
They would have to close. In order to comply with the notice of violation, they would have to close the policy.
So if we denied this motion, is someone going over there tomorrow to tell them to close?
Right now, your motion is to continue.
Well,
if you denied the special exception, then they would either have to close. They would have to close to be in compliance.
So if I amended my motion to deny this, is someone going to go there tomorrow and tell them that it was denied, they have to close?
We would do it in writing first.
Okay.
That would be the first. We would have to put it in writing that you were denied this action.
Right.
Mayor.
Mr. Mayor.
Well, Ms. Corbett, I hope our point's getting through to you. And with all due respect to Councilman Schenk, I seem to remember, we run into these issues constantly between developers and homeowners. And the homeowners have invested, as Deputy Mayor said, hundreds and thousands of dollars into new homes. And the developers, especially as they start to get towards the end, are just trying to leave with every last penny. This is common. In Live Oak, we ran into it where the developer didn't want to build the amenities. And
He doesn't have to. He left. The dock will never be built.
No, I meant
I know what you're talking about.
the pool. We denied Phase 2 until he built the pool. Boy, did that thing get built real quick. And then the sport court, and then all the other things. And then Engel went out of business, and there was nothing we could do. So you are correct about that. It does happen. But Sanctuary, I remember back there with Phase 3, Phase 4, when they were switching from engineered homes to, what was the other one? Centerline? Not Centerline.
Carowinds.
Carowinds. Right. We ran into all sorts of problems with that, too, and an opaque buffer.
But those are different than this, because it's a special exception that, as Lonnie points out, for us to deny, we have to cite specific.
You would have to have specific code reasons, yes.
I do understand, but, I just think this has been going on long enough. I mean, every time you all come in here, and I realize this is your first time here, Ms. Corbett. I may be swayed here, but I have to be honest. Every time, Estancia, whatever they're called, is on our agenda and walks through that door, it just gives us heartburn. And Councilman Schenk may be right, our legal footing might be a little slippery, but it's the only way we have getting your attention for when you all leave and go back to Tampa, become our residents, who this body answers to. So, anyway, we will see what the motion is. We will go from there, but,
Mr. Mayor?
one way or another, these issues need to be worked out. They need to know the condition their roads are in. They need to know that HOA is made flush. Monies in escrow for them would go a long way when you come back. Gates, fishing, with all due respect to the balls, I understand how aggravating that is to them. I almost have to agree with Councilman Schenk. I'm not sure that's our fight, but at least address them. The poor woman has been emailing your folks, my God, it must be 3 or 4 years, Mrs. Ball. And everybody just ignores her. Go have a conversation with her and see what can be done. But we'll see what the body wants to do. So let me entertain a motion. And,
there's been 1.5 on the day.
Yeah, well, we're going to get a real one. I'm sorry, Councilman Britton. Go right ahead.
Right.
You've got the floor.
Let me let them finish their sidebar. That really was the question was for Mr. Groot or Brian. Okay, here the question I have is regarding issuing the notice and whether we approve this or continue it or disapprove it, whether they actually do have to close down while we wait for the hearing with the magistrate.
Let's take it by steps.
All right.
If you continue, they will still be considered in process. And therefore, since they are in process of obtaining their special exception, code enforcement is held at bay. So it would not be going. Okay? If you approve it, they will have met the requirement. Okay? If you deny it, that's when they have only one choice: stop doing what you're doing.
But what is the consequence of that? They appeal. They go to the magistrate, or they.
If they stop what they're doing, obviously there's no more code enforcement case because they're no longer operating without the specific approval that's required. If they continue to operate, obviously code enforcement would go out, as Deputy Mayor said, we'll go out and do an inspection. And if the code enforcement officer finds that they're still operating the sales office, then they would be scheduled for the next available magistrate.
But if we, and I guess this is for Lonnie, can we continue this and put on a condition that they close down while we are in the continuance, while they're in the process?
That would be something, yes, that's definitely the most degree.
You can ask them, but you can't. You cannot order them to stop. Right now, there's a code enforcement process that, as like Brian has indicated, has put the developer on notice to either stop or apply for a special exception. They have applied for a special exception.
Okay, so the way I see it, we have two choices. We can continue it for whatever that means, or we can deny it, in which case the developer needs to close down and then address a reapplication, I would assume. But if we deny it, we have to show cause. Is that correct, Mr.
You just have to cite reasons that come from the code provisions which justify the denial of the development.
Okay. Brian, do we have those conditions identified, Brian? Or could we develop those in the next 2 weeks?
Well, that's everything we just talked about. Fishing, the gates.
From a code perspective, it would be very difficult.
Because your staff has recommended approval for this based on code. So the recommendation from staff is it meets code. And
guys, all I'm looking for is a practical solution here to move forward.
And that's why I thought practical.
Can I just ask one quick question that's very important?
Everybody hang on a second. Councilman Britton, you have the floor. When you're done,
that's what I'm trying to get to. So I don't know who had the first motion, but I thought I made one. But I don't think either one has a second, so I guess we're...
Nothing has a second. We're back at neutrals. Deputy Mayor?
I just got one thing. If we denied this, right, everybody knows there's only, I think they only have 2 or 3 lots left in there anyway. At least that's what I found out a month or 2 ago. They don't have many lots, so my question is, if we denied this, it shut the sales center. It doesn't stop construction of people who are waiting for homes, correct? It just closes the sales center.
That is correct.
Okay, so my understanding is there's only about 2 or 3 lots in there. The models themselves, the parking lot, which they can sell. There's a few, maybe 1 or 2 on Bighorn, and that's it. So, I mean, I hear what everybody's saying, and maybe that's the proper thing. But you need to tell your client that in 2 weeks, if this doesn't happen, that we got to take care of these residents. And honestly, when you come back here in 2 weeks, I really would like this Mr. Roberts to come in here, because I want to talk to him on the record, and I want to know why he's speaking to residents this way. It's not good. So I think Councilman Britton's motion was to continue for 2 weeks. Is that your motion?
Go ahead, make the motion again, please.
Okay, I move that we continue this for 2 weeks.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? I would make sure the property owner is here also. I forgot the gentleman's name, but make sure he's here, make sure Mr. Roberts here, make sure that those 5 people in these emails stop. They have legitimate concerns. You're ignoring them with all due respect. Your client is. Your client's rude to them. Next time if you come back in here, if they're not standing at that podium telling us that they are happier than happy can be and that Home Dynamics is the best developer they've ever met, you may not like the result that we end up with, because I think it sounds like we're all going to be reasonable and give you 2 weeks. Did I sum it up, Council?
Yes.
All righty. Motion on the table is to continue till the next meeting, which I believe is April 1st. How ironic will that be? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Corbett, you got your work cut out for you.
You want to make the conference room available for them?
If you guys want to go in the side conference room and have a quick sidebar, it's just out the hall to the left. The door is on the left, and the light switch is there. Help yourselves. You're welcome.
Brian, what do you think, John?
Councilman Britton's going to make sure the lights are on for you. Thank you, Jerry.
Thanks.
What are we up to? Oh, sure, of course. You can have all mine. I think they have all the copies that they need, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just make sure I got what I need. I do. Okay. If there's anything in there that doesn't belong to you, just bring it back.
All right.
All righty, we got everybody back? We do. All righty. Next item up, ordinance number 1563, non-exclusive commercial solid waste franchise agreement. Ms. Brazil?
Thank you. This is a request for council to consider enacting a non-exclusive commercial solid waste franchise agreement with Rousseau & Sons, Inc. for the period of October 1, 2012 through September 30th, 2013, and renewable annually. It is recommended that council read ordinance number 1563 by title only and schedule a public hearing for April 1st, 2013.
Thank you, Ms. Brazil. Mr. Green, at this time, can you read ordinance number 1563 by title only, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. An ordinance of the City of Oviedo, Florida, providing for the granting of a non-exclusive franchise agreement to Rousseau & Sons, Inc. for the collection of commercial solid waste, providing for the imposition of certain terms, conditions, and requirements relating to the franchise, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, providing for non-codification, and providing an effective date. That's ordinance by title, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Good. At this time, I have no written request to speak on this item, so what is the pleasure of council? Nope. Oh, this is a first reading. All right. This time, I'd like to entertain a motion. Sorry, I confused everyone.
Make us read that whole thing?
No, I'll do it. Yeah, they didn't. All righty. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to schedule a public hearing on April 1st, 2013 for ordinance number 1563 at approximately 6:30 p.m. here in the Oviedo City Hall, Oviedo Council Chambers, 400 Alexandria Boulevard, Oviedo, Florida, 32765.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, call the vote. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
That whole wording sitting there, so.
Yeah, it's just stamped on my brain after all these years. Still, I want that button that we can just hit and read it all off. All righty, resolutions we have none, discussion items we have none, city manager's report. Anything, Ms. Brazil?
Thank you. Yes, I just wanted to remind everyone and let everyone know that the mayor has signed a proclamation declaring a local state of emergency. As you know, there's extreme fire danger that has been present as we've reached above normal drought conditions and the lack of sufficient rainfall, and that has been projected to continue for some time in Seminole and Seminole County and in Oviedo. So pursuant to Section 20.21 of Chapter 20 of the City Code of Ordinances, it empowers the mayor to declare a local state of emergency within the city of Oviedo, and he has done so as of March 8th, 2013.
Councilman Schenck wants to drive the tank.
I do. You get to wear the hat, the gun belt, all the fun toys.
He already called it, so if anybody had any ideas, if there was martial law and you wanted to drive a tank, Councilman Schenck's already called it.
First dibs.
Anything else, Mr. Brazil?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Greek, do you have anything for us this evening?
Just once again, I looked at the docket of the 5th DCA, and the Ocala versus Marion County School District stormwater case is still pending. Has been pending now since March 29th of 2012, so it's approaching an anniversary, and Lord have mercy, it seems like something would happen. But it's the courts that work, sir. Council.
The wheels of justice, right?
Thank you, Mr. Grid. Anything else?
That's all.
All right.
Very much.
Up to my report, I'll run through them real quick. I have a couple of items. First item is tomorrow evening, I am going to be at the Historical Society giving a state of the city. I would like to discuss, because I know it's going to be a topic, future possible uses for the memorial building. And in my presentation, I do have a couple of ideas for relocation that we've already discussed, but some of the additional uses that I was thinking of today, and before I put these out there publicly, I'll just run them by my fellow members. We could possibly consider moving it over by the new community center, and that could be additional space to the community center. It could go on the land in the back that we're looking to acquire, and that could become the smaller 2,000 square foot functional building for seniors to use during the daytime rather than opening up the big community center. Could be an option. Could also turn into a chapel. Drew has talked about creating some type of gazebo or something back there to perform a wedding in and then have your reception and function in the event center. It could have uses over there, so I don't think it's anything that we should not consider. Second use, bring it over to the Lawton House. More room for the museum, possibly, on the back land or on the side land, or work something out with the school. Again, these are just ideas. This is nothing that I'm going to present as us wanting to do. These are just things I was thinking of separately, because the one thing we were thinking of was moving it over a couple of 100 feet, but there could be another use. Who knows? That's if it could be moved and if it's cost effective and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, if that's okay with everybody, it just might be some of the things that I may bring up to the group. We had lunch with the new mall owners this week, and I know some of the members met with them as well. They are very enthusiastic about being here in Oviedo, and they have got some terrific ideas and plans that they're going to start to bring forth slowly through staff. Brian and Catherine, myself, and I'm sure the members, we all had very good conversations, but Brian is the wealth of knowledge of that DRI, so the owners were quite impressed, I think, with the amount and depth of his knowledge. They've also hired Little John Engineering to help him through the process. So Little John's very familiar with us, so that should work out quite well as they move forward. Taste of Oviedo was this past Saturday. It was packed. It was a great turnout. Gail, I'm told 30,000, 40,000. Is that the number we're all sticking with still? Okay, well, we'll just go with it. But it was very crowded, 35 vendors. I don't think we're allowed to announce who won Taste of Oviedo yet. Did they publicly announce that yet? No, they haven't. All right, so I'll just, I won't say anything about a certain shack. But anyway, Let's see, Memorial Building uses. I got a call the other day. I actually ran into Patrick Kelly from Congressman Micah's office last week, and him and I were chatting about the letter we received back from Noran Downs. Asked that I forward him the letter concerning the additional federal dollars that may be available for 419-426, which I did. And I forwarded him the original letter, which we had approved as well. I got a call on Saturday from the congressman to discuss it. He had a meeting today with the FDOT secretary, called me in the afternoon, left me a voicemail, which Catherine and I listened to, and asked us to formulate a new letter with certain language and send it over to Patrick to review, and then have the mayor sign it. We'll send it up to FDOT. So we've got things working on that. Oviedo on the Park groundbreaking. We know about that on Thursday. That is going to be a wonderful event. Drew, I know you're working very hard. Tent, stage, sound system, the whole 9 yards, right? Chairs? All righty. You're the man.
The F-16 flyover.
And Drew, just
I thought you were taking care of that, Keith.
Sequestered.
Hey, Drew, it's going to be just about halfway up Oviedo Boulevard, 3/4 way, that open clearing area there where all that gravel is, that's where we're going to go in.
The stub out for what was formerly known as Oviedo Court. I think it's like Buterbury or Boardwalk. I don't know what it is now.
Oh, is it just going to be right there in the
Center
field
Lake
or
Lane, that's
in the
it.
back?
Thank you.
South of the rail trail.
Okay.
On the west side of the road.
Right, on the west side, but once you go in that area where you have the gravel, it's just going to be right in that section right there. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, no reason to go back in the woods. Not much back there right now. Another thought I had, and just throwing it out there, I was at an event over the weekend and started talking with some of the residents, and they were all excited about the community center and the 501c3 that we've been considering, and they brought up that we should consider, after we have that 501c3 set, to have a black tie fundraiser at the community center itself. Clean the place up, turn on the AC, get it going, decorate it slightly, get a band, do an event, show people what it is, pictures up all around, what it can become. There was a gentleman at the event I was at whose company actually takes your renderings and turns them into 3D holographic models that they could put around, and people can get a real feel for what's going on. So things like music, silent auction, et cetera, sort of like the Seminole State Prom, but here in Oviedo.
Dream Gala.
Prom. The one I was at was like a prom, but it was a lot of fun. But anyway, just food for thought, nothing concrete now. We even have an executive chair for it because she was so enthusiastic about it that I told her if we do it, you're it. So, it could be a fun event. But with all that being said, end of my report. And we're up to Councilmember Schenk.
The mall owners were actually fantastic to talk to, very enthusiastic to hear from them. They're building upon what the previous owners have done so far positive, and really have a long-term outlook on it, and really have, again, building upon what they have, looking forward. It's a great, I think it's going to be a great relationship. Look forward to it. I think from UCF, we got the Blackstone Launchpad, the training of the new generation of entrepreneurs. I was at that announcement last week. I think there are 10 of them now in the country. Started in University of Miami. The Blackstone Group, which owns SeaWorld, used to own Universal, blah, 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 multi-billion-dollar company. They set a foundation up to help entrepreneurs, and basically it reaches right into the kids themselves. This one will be set up right in the student union. So you have an idea, it makes it that easy, that quick. You go in, talk to somebody, get help in how do you create your idea, how to run with your idea. It's really ground floor, but it's such a great thing. I think they committed $1.4 million to this, but it's been a huge success at the University of Miami. They started at a couple of schools in Pennsylvania area, etc. But it's a very prestigious thing, and it's a great relationship and a great another great little thing to have for our community. Hopefully, again, the odds are if you start a company right around here, you're going to be around here. So we hope to, with that, what we were talking in the CRA, that 4-story building that we're looking at, have them housed there and take some of that, office space that we hope they can build. So that's what that is in your mailbox over there. I went to the school, facility planning committee meeting, and that's where we've been getting together kind of quarterly, a representative on it, to work out an interlocal agreement with the school board. They're getting there. The funny thing is, I'll leave we've been talking a lot about the rezoning, because they've been doing the rezoning. And so far, the interlocal agreement is pretty much the same interlocal agreement, except none of the school board stuff. All the stuff that they have to change, they're getting to now. It's an August deadline that we have to have this done. We have to have this done by. So we're going to be meeting pretty much monthly from this point forward. We're meeting bi-monthly. The only downside is, as I was looking there, we had someone from the planning department of every city in the county except one. And it stuck out to me as I was sitting there looking across. And then afterwards, George came up to me and asked me, how come you guys have been missing the meetings? So I think we need to make an effort because that PTAC, the planning, they're the guys putting it together and putting the input in to get to it. They've said that we've been scheduled to be there. We said we'll be there, but we've been missing the last couple. So we want to make sure we get to the next couple because that's when there's actually, to guarantee that what we have to say is at least a part of the discussion. The mayor sent out last month some on Family Dollar, the Family Dollar store in the road. This has been going on way too long, and it's involved partial here, emails there. I just want to know what the deal is. It's been a problem for months to me that I've looked at, and I told the city manager it's been bothersome to me in that it seems like it's piecemeal. We're getting pieces, parts, some stories that don't seemingly, and I'll say it that way, line up over time. Where are we at? Why are we here? And what's going on? I really feel I need to know this. We need to discuss this somehow or get an update because, like I said, this is something I think he mailed out about 2 weeks ago, and there was no response to it as far as I saw. It may have been to him, but no response to it that I saw. But there's a sideways building that I probably don't appreciate as much as the mayor doesn't appreciate it. I've seen better looking Family Dollars. And I don't know why I really don't know why it's sideways fully and saying, well, it had an easement, a named road, so they could do it there. Now it seems it's an easement or something else that we have nothing that says that they can call it anything they want, and basically they can call it from the back road if they wanted to, if there was a road behind them. So I'm just trying to get clarity on what and where we're at. And again, that email that said, that staff was basically saying, well, I'll say setting policy or attempting to set policy in some way.
We'll be happy to give you a brief tonight, or would you like a full written?
I'll take a brief tonight because I want we get them together twice a month, and I get an email from the council and saying, then someone from there, and I get parts, and the parts are hard to, and then I'll talk to you, and it's hard to put together the whole thing when I'm getting a piece here, an email there, and another chunk there, and then I don't know what's going on. So yeah, I'd like to get something so we're all on the same path, and then I'm sure, give me a full bore, but I'd like to know where we're at and why.
Where did it begin?
There's a building turned sideways. I'll give you there's a building turned sideways. I don't directly appreciate it. I've seen better looking ones.
Right.
And originally the email came that said, there's a named street, they can put it sideways. As long as there's a named street, they can put it sideways.
Okay.
That's my recollection of where it started.
This property is part of a plan unit development that was approved in 2004. In 2004, it designated certain spots along 434 for which access could be given to 434. There is a cross-access easement, a joint access easement, basically, that runs between the Family Dollar property and the Lady Bird Academy property. When the project came in, the PUD, and one other aspect of the PUD is that the PUD states that if it's not addressed in the development agreement, then you follow the Land Development Code of the year 2000. The PUD has some rudimentary architectural standards. When the project came in, the staff asked that it be located toward 434. Family Dollar chose not to do that, and they had the ability to do that. They met the setback requirements, and they met the rudimentary architectural requirements of that PUD. The staff went back and said, look, you really should face 434, but they didn't have a way to require them to do it. But they did get them to bring on other architectural features that were closer to what we require now. I'm not going to say that they were what we require now, but closer to what we require now.
I can see they're trying.
But still, Family Dollar refused to turn the building. Family Dollar's response to us was anything that causes us extra time or money, we will not do. We also asked them to make the side that faces 434 be more like a storefront, so that at least it would be consistent. Anything that causes us more time and money, we will not do. Let's get to the addressing question, because there's a lot of things. You're right, there's a lot of things.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts.
Back in 1986, the city entered into an interlocal agreement with the county saying that we would follow their county addressing section code. In 2004, the city also re-upped on that. The planning department was unaware of that, and unfortunately, there was a miscommunication somewhere. The planning department sent out an email saying that it's not required. But it's not required by the city's land development code. It's required by the county's land development code. I don't believe that the staff was trying to set policy. The staff was informing what they knew as far as what the land development code said or did not say. But the county code, the addressing code, has a provision that if you have an access easement that serves two properties, then that easement should be named. It also has a provision that if the building, and I'm not giving you the full technical, but if the building faces that easement, then you address it off that easement. So I've been working with our, quote, address coordinator, because that's what the county code refers to this. I've been working with our address coordinator. We've informed Family Dollar and Lady Bird Academy that per the county code, we need to name that street, which we will be bringing to you at the next meeting. We've also informed Family Dollar that we're going to change their address to reflect how their building faces. We have been very consistent in our communications to Family Dollar regarding how the county code is applied through addressing. And that's really where we are now.
Okay, it referenced I'm going to say fire department addressing?
FD addressing. Family Dollar. That was
Family Dollar
stood for Family.
I didn't know what FD stood for. I'm going family. Fire department, family, Seminole County. I go.
Honestly, I said fire department the first time.
I looked at it and said, I don't know what that means. FD addressing
yes.
will still be
right.
Alafaya Boulevard. I'm like, I don't know what that means.
Well, I went down the hallway.
You're just saying the reverse now.
I went down the hallway and I asked our addressing coordinator, I said, does FD stand for fire department? He said, no, it stands for Family Dollar. Family Dollar is still asserting that their address is 1604 Alafaya Trail.
Can I jump in real quick? Just real quick.
I don't care. I'm just trying to get that. Again, it's very confusing.
Their address is not being changed, right, Brian? It's just that it's going to be assigned for the first time, actually.
Right, yeah.
They had a tentative address assigned for certain purposes.
That part I do understand. That before they ever do anything, they have a tentative address.
The reason that we use the word changed is because Family Dollar believes that their address is 16.
How do they believe that when the buildings turn sideways? How do they
Because it
even
is
do
right now
that?
currently. When you look at the property itself, the property has frontage on 434.
Right.
Okay. So that's how they I treat it. Okay.
So again, I have to, I'm just trying to, we're going to name this the easement. Street.
The easement. We're going to name it as the Orr Street.
We'll name it according to Seminole County Code.
Yes, sir.
Can I interrupt again real quick? And the correspondence that was sent, that I think is the one you're questioning, that's been corrected.
Yes, sir.
That has been
Okay,
corrected.
that's, like I said, there's pieces that we're getting that I don't get the other pieces, so I don't know what's going on. And so that'll be named according to Seminole, again, and that's, we're following Seminole counties, which we have to follow because we have the agreement.
Yes, sir.
And that's within our, and then, again, not, because it's not FD address, they're going to be named accordingly to that road.
Yes, sir.
So we can expect grief from them. Okay, I'm good. I know what's going on now.
Yes, sir.
Like I said, the last I saw was this thing that, like I said, I assumed it was fire department address and said, wait, they have a fire department
I did the
address
same thing.
that says 6 blah blah Alafaya and another address. I'm like, does that happen here? So
Well, you might as well get the whole thing out. What kind of signage are they asking for?
They've asked.
Why don't you tell the
well,
council?
hold on, I'll just ask one question because you backed up and you said they met code 100% because this is where I said they didn't. They are trying. I'll agree. They're probably doing more than they have to, required certainly by code because they have.
Can I jump? I'm sorry to keep jumping in.
No,
I've got no issue with the discussion about the addressing. That's administrative. Right. Now, Family Dollar is going to be in here and tell you probably a million reasons why they should be addressed State Road 434. That's an administrative issue.
Right.
The signage is subject to potential appeals.
Yeah, I'm not looking at signage. I'm not talking signage.
So we ought not to talk about signage right now because that could be a quasi-judicial matter that comes before you, the land use administrator, and the city council, or sequentially on appeal.
That's the one thing. On April 1st, when you see this, we're going to be discussing the street name. Now, what Family Dollar chooses to do, that's of their own fruition.
That's
right.
But we're going to be discussing the street name.
You had said that they came in. I just want to make sure we didn't give them any. They met code straight up. No 5% deviation, 10% deviation, staff deviation.
Not to my knowledge. I'd have to go back and verify it. I can do that tomorrow for you if you like.
It's all you know. Because that's like I said. If it's odd, it's an oddity to me. Again, I look at it and go, there are other sideways buildings. I don't find one that's on an end cap, so to speak, on a street. Most of them are interior, facing each other, but they do try a little bit harder to, like you said, at least wrap windows, something to make it a little more appealing. So I got that, but I'm good. As long as I caught up to where we are, like I said, it was very, getting the pieces along the way was very hard to follow what's going on. And again, reading in and saying, well, again, you said one of the issues was we didn't realize that we continued an agreement, so thus we did. That kind of stuff throws us if I don't know. And again, seeing that we've progressed from that last email, again, not seeing that, I'm going, what's going on?
They're going to be here 4-1, and I agree with Lonnie. We got some stuff to decide, so less said and better. But they're coming here April 1st. We can address signage and all that stuff.
I had nothing to do with signage.
No, just address.
Yeah, I had no question about signage or anything like that. I just more, where are we at with this naming and streets, and because it was all over the place.
We have a street name that has passed muster with 911.
What's the name?
It's Lady Bird.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Unless anybody's got it. If you had something else, please.
No, I don't have a question. I just have a comment. You and I sat down. We talked about this, and I asked why they didn't put any windows on the side that face 434 or on the back. And you told me that they told you that it was because they need the shelf space inside. However, I drove down 50, which isn't the best-looking area, on my way to 95, and there is a Family Dollar right next to a Sherwin-Williams, and they have windows all the way around.
They do.
So what happened to their... And I'm not picking on you, Brian. I'm just thinking in my own head, like, what happened to their shelf space?
That would be my question, too.
Yeah, because those little shutter things they put
That
out
was the thing they told us, was that they needed it for inventory, for shelf space on inventory, and that if they had the windows there, they couldn't do that.
Yeah. And that one on 50 looks
Right. Exactly.
nice.
Yeah, there are better looking ones, there's no doubt about it.
I'm sorry.
Again, and I know that they're not required to have certain ornamentation that they're putting on, as long as that they're trying, but...
I would argue that they met the minimum standard of P.
I agree.
I don't
aiming
think
was
we got
low.
anything extra, but whatever, it's still.
Thank you, that's all I needed, was that, and I appreciate that. Just one quick thing, what's the status on Developmental Services Director, because that just leads me right into that, and the other, whatever the other hire is, the two hires.
Thank you. We did provide a brief update on Friday, but essentially, yeah, it was just that we have entered into discussions with a candidate, and we're still in negotiations at this point.
And the other one, on the community relation lobby thing,
yeah, I have nothing to report on that one at this point.
Rough. Done.
Just one quick thing, Bobby, this is for you. That is one heck of an awesome job out in front of Kingsbridge West. I know you've been watching that over, and I just have to throw this in. I sat here with his predecessor 4 or 5 years ago and begged for that light and was argued and beat down. We don't need it. We don't need it. The residents in that neighborhood love it, and it looks great. Even down to and I'm sure you saw this, even down to the covers around the bolts that go into the ground, they look good. I mean, that intersection now is primo.
It's funny you said that, because I have the email asking them where the covers around the bolts were.
Yeah, the covers look good, but I mean, I've been wanting to see that project done for 5, 6 years, and always we didn't need it. There were so many accidents out there, and you did a great job, man. It looks just beautiful. So tell your people and the contractors out there, from us to them, that was a really good job. That's all I had.
Councilwoman.
Oh, that's all right. I don't really have too much tonight. We went to the police department's, the PBA's appreciation barbecue. It was very nice, and I got to actually see the police officers that were promoted, so I could congratulate them. And I do have a request, Chief, for you. I asked Chief Chudnow for the names of the officers who was the Officer of the Year and the Civilian of the Year, so I could send them a little note, because I missed the ceremony because I was sick, and I still haven't gotten it. So could you get that information for me? I always think it's I think it's a good idea to congratulate them even if I can't be there in person. I also met with the new mall owners, and, well, one of the brothers. I think he's in business with four brothers. I said, wow, they must have interesting discussion at Christmas time and the holidays. And I was very enthused to hear what they have planned and what they're going to do. And we talked about the different businesses that they want to bring into the mall. And he actually wants to hear from the community, what type of business do you want? So I says, I will send out my mass email and ask, give me suggestions of what you want, and I'm going to forward it to them. So I was very excited with that meeting. On April 30th, the Community-Based Care of Central Florida is going to have a informational breakfast, and I'm going to host a table. And I would like to invite anyone who would want to go. If you'd send me a little email, I think it's going to be at the Lake Mary Marriott, and it's going to be informational. There'll be no cost to you. It's just a matter of getting the word out of what CBC of Central Florida does. And I have Tri-County on Thursday, and then we got the groundbreaking. I'm looking forward to it. And I think that's about all I have. That's all I see on my little calendar.
I don't have much, but I do want to say a little bit about my old friend, Dr. Tim Yang, who opened his business here in Oviedo, Yang Enterprises, in, I believe, 1986 is what I heard. the other night. Dr. Yang was recognized as a distinguished alumnus of UCF, which is where he got his PhD from. And he's been here a long time. He and his wife Lee run that company, and they're very quiet but very good citizens of this city. So I want to congratulate him and maybe suggest that if we see it appropriate, maybe do a resolution to congratulate him on that and his citizenship to the city. He's been here a long time, and he's a very good man and been very good to our community.
Put it together with Barbara. Get it on the consent agenda. Okay. Do you want to present it to him here, or do you want to just present it to him yourself?
We'll see what he wants.
Work with Barbara.
All right. With your consensus, I'll do that, and that's all I have.
No issues on the proclamation?
No.
You're good?
Mr. Mayor, may I add one more thing that I forgot, that I will be thrown out of the Women's Club if I forgot to mention the tasting lunch.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I forgot about that. How do we forget about that?
I know.
You got to go on a diet.
They're going to throw me right out. It was the Women's Club, the Oviedo Women's Club, who have been in existence over 100 years, put on a tasting luncheon every year. Very well attended. The food was great, and as Councilman Schenk was leaving, as I was getting there, he said it was the best year ever. But I think he says that every year.
I know. I got to tell you, that was the best food ever.
So I want to thank the Women's Club for all their hard work and for what they do in the community.
Who made those chocolate chip cookies?
I did.
They were good.
I got off easy this year.
Future meeting dates: April 1st, 6:30 p.m. regular session, the 13th, 9 a.m. strategic planning session. That is over at the community center in the mall. Monday, April 15th, 6:30 p.m. regular session. With all that being said, it is almost 8:25. Meeting is adjourned.
Dale, you got a second?